21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
As entrepreneurs, none of you want to think about cybersecurity. Unfortunately, it's important. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you should think about cybersecurity as you build your big, amazing, huge companies. Hi, my name is Scott McCrady. I've been in the cybersecurity space almost my entire life. I'm an engineer by trade. And one of the funny stories I tell everybody is I went to university to become a computer and networking engineer, but the university forced me to take speech courses. And as we sit here on this recording this podcast, I tell almost everybody when they say, what's the secret to success or finding ways to be an entrepreneur or be successful in business? And I always state, you got to stack your skills. And one of them is public speaking. So absolutely terrifying experience to have to go through speech course in university. But to this day, it's probably one of the most valuable things that's ever happened to me. And that led into, ironically, my journey into cybersecurity leadership. The funny story about that is when I came out of university, I was a traditional network engineer. Back in the day, Novell and when Microsoft came around and I was deploying firewalls and IDSs. And the reason I got into sort of more leadership roles was I was one of the first people that would be sent out to talk with customers about cybersecurity. Still super early days in the cybersecurity space. Web hosting and the internet was really on the rise. This is pre-2000. And my company would say, hey, Scott, we need some way to go out and explain to customers how we do security in our web hosting environment. And the old joke back there was the engineer who would stop looking at his own shoes and would look at the shoes of the customer was the more outgoing engineer. And so that was my experience. Ironically, I'm an introvert by nature, but we weren't even called sales engineers back then. We were just sort of architects and engineers that were deploying a lot of the technology. But when the customers would say, okay, we understand about what we're trying to accomplish with our services on this new thing called the internet, how do we secure that? They would send me out to have that conversation with the customer. And so that began my journey into a completely different path besides what I used to call just traditional hands-on keyboard deployment and architectural and engineering of networks and primarily security components inside of that. The question I get asked more than any is what is happening in the cybersecurity space these days? Unfortunately, it's not getting better. And I would love to be here and explain to folks that life is good, security threats are becoming less, they're not as sophisticated as they used to be, but it's just not true. And so one of the things I tell everyone is it's really important to start thinking about security embedded into your organization. It's just one of those things, if you can think about it as a solution stack that is just a key part of whatever you're building, it's going to make your life easier than trying to bolt on security, later, whether or not you're a SaaS company, an engineering company, or whatever. So that's the first thing. So why is it that security is getting more challenging? Simple. Technology is getting faster. We all know AI is on the forefront these days. It's burst onto the scene in a way that none of us have ever seen to this degree. In the security space, we've been using LLMs and machine learning for decades. But today's world of AI accelerates the capabilities of the bad actors, which makes it easier for them to do two things, which is to leverage that against humans as targets. So can they social engineer the ability to get to the data that you need to get into to break in? And it also allows them to expedite and find more technical avenues, whether or not that's more 0 days or whether or not the ability to deploy in a broader mass against organizations. And so people constantly say, well, I don't really have much that's worth anything. Why would cyber attackers attack me? And the way to think about it is they're not really specifically attacking you anymore. the capability is so robust and so simple for the attackers is all they're doing is rolling a million marbles onto a table. And if you happen to be one of the holes that the marble falls into, they're going to ransomware you, steal your data. They're going to do something that forces you to pay them in order to, for them to make their money. And so because of that, think a lot less of how risky is my organization, how many quote unquote interesting things do I do, and think more about a drive-by capability. And if you just happen to fall into an attack, they're going to figure out a way to leverage that to get money out of you. So then the next thing that often comes up is, hey, Scott, I'm a relatively small company. I get it. If I'm some big, huge bank, then of course they're going to get cyber, attacks thrown at them. But, I'm 25 employees or 100 employees, I'm relatively small. Surely cyber attackers don't care about me. And unfortunately, it's just not true in today's world. And there's two major reasons. And it's actually pretty logical if you think about it. The first of all is it used to take the attackers a lot of energy to attack a company. And so they would target the companies that had the most resources. But in today's world, it's very easy for them to do what we call a spray and pray type of attack. They can attack millions of companies with a push of a button. And so therefore, they can attack a 150-seat organization as easily as they can attack a 10,000-seat organization. So because of that level of effort is different, there's a high chance that you're going to get caught up as a small company in that attack. And then two, they know that a lot of small companies have put security as a secondary thought and topic. Most of us are so aggressively trying to build our companies that security is one of those things that maybe is in the back of the mind. And you're like, okay, I need to get to that. But you just get overwhelmed by all the other things that you need to accomplish. And so they know that oftentimes small, medium businesses are underprepared from a security standpoint. And so, as an entrepreneur, as you're trying to grow your business, again, this is why it's really important to think about security and just sort of build it into the culture that you have. Because if you do, it's just like anything in life, right? If you try to fix your house after it's already built, it's just more difficult. It's much easier if you say, well, when I design my house, I build my house, I'm going to put in the things that matter to me in that particular time. And that way everything's built around it and you don't have to go back and re-retrofit, which is a lot more challenging. So one of the things to think about is this concept of, I understand that this happens to other people, but it's not going to happen to me, right? I'm not going to be the house that gets broken into. I'm not going to be the person that gets in a car wreck. Nobody's going to hit me with a vehicle. And so it's very easy to sort of delay cybersecurity as a core component of your culture and the way you build your company. The unfortunate fact, and I hate to always spew negative numbers, but it's just the world that I live in, is that most SMEs that have a breach go out of business. It is a known fact that, unfortunately, if you're a small, medium business, the cost of that breach will be enough to put, I believe the statistic now is around 75% of those companies out of business. And you've got a 1 in 3 shot chance every year of being breached. And so you're really, playing with fire if you're not thinking about how to secure your organization. The good news is, in today's world, there are a lot of companies that specialize on security for SMBs. And so for a relatively moderate amount of money, you can get this problem really well contained and off your plate so that you can get back to the day-to-day job of building something amazing for your customers. And this can really be something that is handled by somebody else at a very reasonable price. So one of the great things that's happening, as we just talked about, it's a relatively cost-effective way of getting security taken care of. There's also the ability to tie that into cyber insurance. And so we all know there's a lot of, especially right now, we're talking and recording this when the LA is having their really big problem with fires. Insurance is really critical. So one of the things SolCyber did very early on is, if you use our services and tools, we actually worked with the cybersecurity industry for small, medium businesses specifically in order to get a massive discount on your cyber insurance. It usually runs around 40 to 50%. And so one of the really cool things that companies are trying to do in order to help small, medium businesses is we're trying to link those two, saying, okay, if you're being responsible and really trying to take security seriously, and you get it, like it's not something that's core to business, so you hand it off to somebody like us. We did a lot of work with the cybersecurity industry on the insurance side in order to connect those two and reward you, so that a lot of even that security spend will get refunded back in the form of significantly discounted cyber insurance policies. One of the things to think about as an entrepreneur is, do you want to do it yourself and try to stitch this together, or do you want to outsource it? And so I've been doing this for 20 years with the largest MSSPs on the planet, managed security service providers. This was with Symantec, which was the leader at the time, a company called FireEye, which was the leader at the time. And when I started SolCyber, one of the things that we built is called foundational coverage. We use world-class tools. These are tools that Fortune 100 organizations use. And we pull it into a managed security service offering, and we sell it to SMBs at an incredibly reasonable price, and think of it as a drop-in security program. And so as an organization, you can just go to SolCyber.com, look for foundational coverage. It is literally a one-stop shop for an entire security program. And it's constantly evolving. So we update this program on a consistent basis. And as the threat changes, think of it as like a SaaS-based capability. We'll enhance the service, and it's no cost. It's monthly, so there's no big upfront fees. So it's a really easy way for organizations to get into security, again, with a very minimal amount of cost, have world-class capabilities, but really tailored to SMBs to make your life easier. And then, like I said, if you want to get into cyber insurance, or if you already have cyber insurance, we can sponsor that. Again, we're not the cyber insurance company, so your broker can get access to this via the underwriters, and we don't make any money on it. We just try to make your life easier. So this combination is really powerful. You get the amazing protection from SolCyber, and you get the amazing support from a cyber insurance company, and you're in a position to really protect your company from bad things and bad actors on a holistic manner, and keep you focused on, running this thing and building it and becoming the next Jeff Bezos. Essentially, we also have individual components that organizations can buy. Now, the reason for that is usually it's the larger companies. The larger companies are like, I've already solved these two problems, but these other 2 or 3 problems I need help with. And so we can go and solve those individual problems. Foundational coverage is so relevant for SMB because usually they almost have nothing, right? And so it's a drop-in. But even for an SMB, they could actually choose, components, if you will, or something that's higher priority for them. Thanks for listening to the conversation. Simple, SolCyber, SolCyber.com, Scott at SolCyber.com. Go to the website. We're super transparent. Everything we do is priced monthly. There's pricing on the website. You can literally put in the number of employees you have and get an indicative price of how much the different services and the different tiers cost. And then again, wrap it into your cyber insurance, get a massive discount there. It'll fund the security program, and boom, bam, get this thing off your plate. think of this big, huge elephant. Oh, I need to get security solved. Like push that thing and say, okay, get a big, huge check box, and you're on your way to having an amazing, secure organization and not having a problem you got to worry with anymore.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.